محمد محمد صلى عليك Allah, the final prophet and the messenger sent from Allah. This is the story so far.
نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إلها أحدا فردا صمدا. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره الكافرون ولو كره المنافقون ولو كره المشركون ولو كره الذين لا يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر. أما بعد. My dear brothers in Islam, just to recap a few things in Islam, that the foundation of Islam is built on what is called Haram and Halal. The things that are Halal and the things that are Haram. This principle is a fundamental principle in Islam. And for us to understand what is Halal and what is Haram, we have one authority. And that authority is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beyond any iota of doubt. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His hikmah and through His rahmah, through His mercy and wisdom, has taken away this responsibility from His creation. And He has placed it upon Himself that whatever is halal, He dictates. And whatever is haram, He dictates. But amongst us today, on a daily basis, sometimes we give liberty to our mouth, to our verbal expression, that this is halal, and that is halal, and this is haram, and that is haram. Sometimes we say things that are haram, we say it several times during the day. Sometimes we say things that are haram and it's not haram. For example, if someone were to ask to touch the Quran, he would say, I haven't got wudu. Or if someone tries to touch the Quran without wudu, they would say, Ya akhi, this is haram. It's haram to touch the Quran without wudu. Sometimes they go around with the idea to say it's haram for a male to teach females or to lecture to both males and females. Or sometimes the vice versa, that it's haram for a female to lecture in front of males and females. And they come up with all sorts of things that is haram, and they have their own sort of adillah or experiences, and most of these actually come from cultural heritage, and most of it come from traditional knowledge that people have, instead of that of the Quran and the Sunnah. Some of them actually based on emotions. They feel it's okay, this probably is haram, so therefore it's haram. Or that probably is halal, so therefore it's halal. They base their decisions on emotions. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken away this responsibility from His creation. And He has placed it on Himself, that whatever is halal and whatever is haram, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no one else. It's an exclusive right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. التحليل والتحريم حق الله وحده. That to make something halal or to make it haram is an exclusive right that belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the evidence of this, He says, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ. Have you not seen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He had sent down provisions for us to eat, provision for us, sustenance for us, rizq. قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ. That He sends down rizq for us, meaning that we can benefit from it. Meaning that it's sustenance for us, it's beneficial for us. You can have numerous benefits from the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَجَعَلْتُم مِّنْهُ حَرَامًا وَحَلَالًا. And you have decided among yourselves to think that this is haram or that is halal. فَجَعَلْتُم مِّنْكُمْ or minhu haraman wa halalan. And from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided, from the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have made things haram and you have made it halal without the sultan and the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning that human beings have decided that these things are haram, and they have decided that these things are haram without any authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَجَعَلْتُم مِّنْهُ حَرَامًا وَحَلَالًا. اللَّهُ أَذِنَ لَكُمْ. Is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given you permission to do that? أَمَا عَلَى اللَّهِ تَفْتَرُونَ. Or is it that you're inventing a lie against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Which one is it? Is it with evidence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it evidence from the Quran? Is it evidence from the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it evidence from the Sahih Bukhari? Or is it evidence from the most authentic source in Islam? Or is it something that somebody is just talking because responding to their own whims and fancies and emotions and traditional practices or perhaps cultural practices? No, which one is it? Is it stipulated in the Quran or not? Is it stipulated in the hadith or not? And this is what we need to understand as Muslims, that the authority and the right to make something halal or to make it haram is the right that belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one else. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَا تَصِفَ أَلْسِنَتُهُمْ الْكَذِبَ. And do not utter your tongue and make utterances like those people who use their tongue that is based on lies, assertions that are based on lies. هَذَا حَلَالٌ وَهَذَا حَرَامٌ, saying that this is halal or this is haram, and it's based on a pack of lies. It's based on no evidences. It's based on no proofs. It's based on no solid documentation with authority. لِتَفْتَرُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ, so that they may invent a lie against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَفْتُرُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ لا يفلحون. That indeed those who invent lies against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will never ever prosper. They will never ever be successful. They would never ever be victorious. They would never ever be among the muflihun. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that these are the people who invented things in Islam. These are the people who invented things in the deen of Islam. These are the people who invented the Sharia. These are the people who invented the laws of Islam. These are the people who do not become very meticulous about the utterances, about the things they say about Islam. They say things with no knowledge. Or they say things with inadequate knowledge. So it could be halal, it could be haram, they are not sure, but they're already given verdict that yes, it is haram, or it is haram. We need to be extremely careful with these utterances. We don't have the authority to do that, brothers. It's very important that this qa'idah is embedded in our thoughts and in our mind. It creates that foundation of our thinking process. Because the only authority that exists for instituting haram or halal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو سبحانه عما يشركون. صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us again that اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. Going back to history now, historically, that the priests and the rabbis and the authority in various systems, they used to institute what is right and what is wrong. The Quran actually says that they took their priests and their monks as arbaban, as lords, as masters, besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They took them as masters, they took them as lords, meaning they took them as gods, basically. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. اتخذوا أحبارهم وَرُهْبَانًا أَرْبَابًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ, from beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Adi ibn Hatim, when he heard this ayah that the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned, he said, Ya Rasulullah, إِنَّهُمْ لَمْ يَعْبُدُوهُمْ. He said, but they don't worship. I come from a Christian background. They don't worship the rabbis. They don't worship the priest. They don't worship the monks. They don't worship the authority. لَمْ يَعْبُدُوهُمْ. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Prophet in response to that, he said, بَلَى. Certainly, yes, that's true. إنما حرم عليهم الحلال وأحلوا لهم الحرام فاتبعوهم وذلك عبادتهم إياهم. That indeed that is true. But what they actually used to do, they used to change the halal to haram. إنما حرم عليهم الحلال. They used to change the halal to haram. And vice versa. They used to change the haram to halal. And the people agree with it. And they follow it. And they say, yes, this is fine. You're our leaders. Here are the people who will be leading us. So that's fine. Whatever you say is halal is halal. Whatever you say is haram is haram. We agree with you. فَاتَّبَعُوهُمْ. So they follow them. So the Prophet ﷺ continued, وَذَلِكَ عِبَادَتُهُمْ إِيَّاهُمْ. He said, that is ibadah to them. That is worshipping them. That is obedience with the ibadah to them. Because they have no right to change what is haram to halal. And they have no right to change what is halal to haram. It's not their prerogative. It's not their authority. So who has given us authority now that we go around with liberty? If you think we got full liberty, full verbal expression, we go around, we say this is haram and that is haram, or this is halal and that is halal, without profound knowledge from the original sources of Islam, without knowledge of the Quran, without knowledge of the ahadith as-sahih. We need to be extremely careful with the things that we say. If we do continue like that, we can be in a big trouble, particularly in Yawm al-Qiyamah. Among the scholars themselves, you will find Abu Yusuf, rahmatullahi alayhi, one of the students of Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi alayhi. He says that during their time of making the fatwa, he said we used to be extremely careful to say that anything is haram or halal until we see a clear-cut proof in the Quran without tafsir. A clear-cut proof in the Quran bila tafsir, without tafsir. Then we would say this is haram, or we would say this is halal. We don't dabble into that. And all the scholars of the past, the most prominent scholars, they're very reluctant to say this is haram or that is halal. Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that he would be very cautious in uttering something is haram. He would say, أَنَا أَكْرَهُهُ. He said, I hate this thing, or I dislike it, or أَنَا لَا أُحِبُّ هَذَا, or I don't like this thing. They wouldn't go to the extent to say it is haram or halal without conclusive evidence from the Quran or from the ahadith as-sahih. Remember, I always talk about this, that we need to talk about authentic hadith, because there are plenty of hadiths that is da'if. How are we going to know that? We are not scholars of hadith. We are not the scholars of hadith. If someone tells us that, do we believe that person or not? For us to understand that, we need to understand the Quran first. Because if we understand the Quran, you will have a gist of what is good and bad. Because the hadith is only an explanation of the Quran. So the Quran is the foundation of the knowledge. The Quran is the fountain of the knowledge. The Quran has got the basis of the knowledge. The Quran is the original source of the knowledge. And if we understand the Quran, then inshallah we will be on the right path, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us that insight that we can see that some of the things that people saying come from the hadith are actually cultural issues, or perhaps they're traditional issues, or perhaps they are emotional issues, but they blend all of it into the Sharia of Islam. So we are confounded now. We don't know which one is Sharia and which one is not. Which one is from the Ahadith as-Sahihah and which one is not. Or which one is from the Quran or not. We get confounded with this information. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us away from this state of confusion and help us to understand things in a clear manner. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَقَدْ فَصَّلَ لَكُمْ مَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ. He says He made clear what is haram. He said, وَقَدْ فَصَّلَ لَكُمْ مَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ. He has given you details of the things that are haram. So we should not be playing with the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should not be playing with the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not allow anyone to play with the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to think they have got the authority to say something is haram where it's not clear in the Quran or from the authentic sources. Let us rethink some of the things that we do. Let us rethink some of the things that we have been involved in. Let us rethink some of our practices that we have and ensure that whatever we do is evidence-based, is according to the Quran and the Sunnah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that insight, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand and to implement His laws so that He can be pleased with us in this world and also in the akhirah. In this way we can be successful both in this world and the world to come. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم جميعا.
Muhammad, oh Muhammad, Sallallahu alayka Allah, the final prophet and the messenger sent from Allah.